We are live.
Are we? Nice.
Yes.
Cool. Welcome to Suzilla. It's Thursday. Look, it's Matt.
It's Suzie.
Hi, everyone. So welcome to, I don't know what our topic is today. Matt's kind of said, we're going to do a podcast. I said, what are we going to do a podcast about? I don't know. So, well, okay, we do a podcast. I'm usually a good podcaster when I'm a little grumpy this morning. And yes, I am a little grumpy this morning.
Yeah, we got a little bit of that, a little bit of coffee. I'm trying to play with something new here.
Oh.
And it's not seeming to come off.
Oh, yes. So speaking of coffee, our anniversary was last week, and the darling husband of mine, Matt, he got us a French press and an electric kettle. And I've been making, well, we've both been making fancy schmancy, well, not fancy schmancy, but French press coffee to stretch our dollar a little bit and keep us from going constantly to the little coffee shop. We love our coffee stand, and we support our coffee stand, and we still get a fancy coffee about once a week, but we've been enjoying our French press coffee quite a bit, actually. So now that I'm done with that was my vamp. It's our topic today.
Oh, we are going to do how to thrive in the Great Recession.
We're in a
That's going to be Great Resignation.
Thank you. I thought you were talking. Okay, how to thrive in the Great Resignation. Yes, that is a phrase I've heard because over the last 18 months or so.
Well, we kind of started looking at it last April. Mm-hmm. Because about that point, about 25% of the workforce was saying, hey, you know what, we need to change careers.
Yeah, what was happening is COVID was making people go take a cold, hard look at their lives. And a lot of folks were laid off, or the COVID. Thank you.
Boom.
Yeah, shush you. This causing a lot of companies to ask their employees to work from home, which a lot of people discovered was kind of cool.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of evolved.
Yeah, it has.
They just did a Microsoft Work Trend, mm-hmm. And about 41% were looking at leaving their company
because
this year.
Back.
And about 49% were debating on a major career change.
Yeah, that's true, and that's what boils down to is it's. Well, people taking a cold hard look at their lives and deciding that maybe they didn't want to be at the mercy of somebody else.
Well, there's more to it than that.
Of course there is.
Because they did the New York. There was a survey over in New York.
Yeah.
And because of the boom of the stock market, about half the people surveyed were expecting to retire by 62.
Really? And that's because their investments are doing well.
Their investments are doing well, or they're in a good position. Mm-hmm. So they're looking at exiting the workforce early, which is a big change for what we've experienced as adults in the scene.
God, yes.
The joke was, you spend your golden years at the Golden Arches.
Yeah.
Because there was
that was a social thing, dear.
It was just literally working. There was also the Walmart greeters.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
It really was a thing.
It still is for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Don't discount that.
However, a large portion of people are really considering looking at exiting at 62. Mm-hmm. And you have to admit, the last few months, we've retired a lot of folk early.
Yes, we have. Well, here's another little twist that could really make that interesting, is the push to decrease the Medicare age to 60.
Yeah.
Because that would take a lot of the health insurance pressure off of people at 62.
Now, interestingly enough, the National Association of Health Underwriters...
I'm sure they don't want that.
They don't want that at all.
Of course they don't.
Because they feel it will disrupt all the other marketplaces.
No?
And so
they're not entirely wrong.
So it's yes, I am a member. because I've gotten some good training out of there.
That doesn't mean you can't disagree with them.
And it's one of those things that it's like,
disagree with them on a regular basis.
We do disagree with them on a regular basis, and this is yet another one we're going to disagree with them on.
Yep.
It's because, one of the keys that we always stride is being flexible and adaptable.
And that's one of the problems that actually a lot of those insurance industries struggled with is the adaptability. They get stuck in their ways and don't want to change their status quo. And it's not just insurance industry, but
we're seeing that at the agency levels. Because when there was lockdowns and a large portion of our workforce went off and discovered, hey, they like working from home.
Yes, they do, and they like being able to use the mute button on their Zoom meetings. Our clientele sometimes really likes working from home.
So that's one of those options that are out there, and it's we got in a family discussion about this last night with our son's leadership book. What was he reading?
The Servant.
The Servant, which is about servant leadership. I might actually pick it up and read it, just because it's like we were bagging on it because of.
I was making dinner. They were bagging on it.
Yeah, because like the CEO of Nestle recommended it. One of the former speakers of the House, Representative John Boehner, recommended it, but it's required reading for him because he's in a high school for a leadership course,
which we don't hate the idea of.
No, it's one of those things that it sparks a conversation. It's really good to see high school education doing stuff like that.
Yeah, it's nice to spark a conversation about things that make you think. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because so often it's just like same stuff, same thing, different day. And this is creating some interesting philosophical conversations in our home because of it, which I appreciate a lot. Because I'd like to see my son's brain challenged.
Well, yeah, you have to challenge people's brains on a regular basis.
Now, he's got a really interesting way of looking at the universe, so I especially like it for him.
So we were talking. It's like, okay, with cash-strapped businesses, other than offering the obvious, here's a bigger paycheck.
Yeah.
How do you entice people to stay?
Yeah. In my opinion, what it boils down to is work-life balance, which is the broad term. How do you not just commit your entire existence to your job and let your family and your life and your personal existence suffer? That's the whole. Nobody's last words were ever, I wish I'd spent more time at the office.
Okay.
That kind of feel. And that's one of the things we're...
So more of a spiritual side of things.
I guess that's one way to look at it, yeah.
See,
that's a very broad umbrella.
That is a very broad umbrella.
And then we can narrow that down from there, which is what you guys were talking about mostly last night.
Yeah, one of the biggest things I saw was a failure of management to shield and support their employees.
Yes. Now, I'm old enough that I've worked in jobs where the management did support and shield us from jerks.
Because we're seeing a lot of examples of hostile environments.
I've seen a couple of employers, small businesses, have to go out publicly and tell, it's like, listen, stop treating our people so badly. Which I appreciate. But you never hear corporate doing that.
Correct.
But either way, we as a nation, we're really stressed out. There's no question about that. But don't take it out on a guy who's trying to give you a freaking hamburger.
Yeah, it's like crazy. It's like you're looking at someone, the lowest rung, and you're deciding to kick them because of someone else's decision.
Yes.
Why are you making their lives miserable?
Exactly. There's no reason behind it.
And I saw that as that is a big one.
I That's a major karma issue.
Well, it's not a major karma issue, but it's a major retention issue.
Oh, well, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm a philosophical word there.
Yeah, I think that is like the number one, because it's well, why don't you have any wait staff? Well, they're all getting abused.
And if you're getting all getting abused, and if management doesn't step up and say, stop abusing my staff, they say, oh gosh, I'm so sorry, this server was wrong, even if they weren't, and here, have a free meal, and we'll definitely have to have a word and get someone called on the carpet for some jerk.
Yeah, that's not being supportive.
No, it's not, and that's happening entirely too often. And it goes back to that really stupid, that never really worked, the customer is always right concept.
Yeah, because sometimes the customer is wrong.
No, and that's where the whole caring thing comes in.
Yeah.
I want to talk to the manager, because you know what? We have corporate America, well, not just corporate America, but overall, retail especially has trained the customer to complain to get what they want.
Well, here's the thing. If you support someone that is out of control, you're bringing that out of control nature into your business place.
You are. Now, one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about this is because I've experienced this. Matt never really worked a lot in retail. I worked a lot in retail.
No, I did the light manufacturing route and the project management.
Exactly, which is a different angle. You did have customers, but it was a much different level.
Very different. Customer service is one of those ones. You pay attention to the different stakeholders, and if you focus on appeasing them before anything becomes critical.
Right. That's like it's a totally different dynamic. I was dealing with the boots on the floor, you want fries at that kind of level retail.
Yeah.
Okay? And I saw, when I started in retail when I was 17, back in 1987, right? I started at McDonald's like so many of us. If we had a belligerent customer, our management would step up, what's the problem here? And they would solve it, but they wouldn't blame the employee.
Correct.
Unless the employee deserved to be blamed. They wouldn't lay blame. And they wouldn't necessarily give somebody what they want because of their bad behavior. That's happening.
And that's happening, that supporting of Karens and that nonsense. And I think that's driving that, oh, hey, you know what? Let's do all remote offices.
Well, yeah, because they don't want to deal with people.
So that is one of those huge things. Which brings us to the next one. Which
doesn't help if you're retail, by the way. Remote, you can't do remote.
You can't do remote
if you're selling hamburgers.
But you can't do curbside.
Yes, and even that doesn't help.
So you minimize
you reduce the customer contact. Another thing that hasn't helped this is things like Yelp, and the internet reviews.
Yeah, internet review bombs are
it's a thing.
Notorious. And there's actually been some lawsuits over those.
There have been, and appropriately so. What you got is you've got somebody who's behaving badly, trying to get stuff for free, and they're using their reviews as a weapon.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, retailers, restaurants are catering to that level of crap behavior. Used to be, I'm sorry.
You are going way down the rabbit hole.
I told you, this is one of the things I'm passionate about. But let's go back to topic, and we'll just have to tackle this project another day. So the Great Resignation was our topic.
Yeah.
And people have gone to remote work because it started with COVID, and it's turned out that people like to. A lot of folks especially in the tech industry, they want to work from home in the first place, but no, you have to come into the office. You have to come into the office.
Well, that brings me to another point that's being discussed, and that is improving the firm culture, the workplace culture.
Yes, when we watched Office Space this last weekend, there's a good example of.
Yeah, gotta have enough flair.
Yeah,
that's nonsense.
No.
But
it'd be already good if you came in this weekend.
Yeah, and we have seen it, since the 90s, this erosion. It's like, son, I'm sorry, you've never experienced a company softball team or bowling. The ability to hang out outside of the office. Mm-hmm. Working with people you actually enjoy and are enthused with. It's
because they're people who are in an environment where they're enjoying their job are generally a lot easier to work with. They're a lot more friendly, a lot happier. You want to be work friends with them.
Yeah, and when you get into elite levels of business, you see that hey, let's go on a company retreat. You're doing team building outside of that office. It's not about, oh, hey, we can't afford to spend $100 on hot dogs and go to the park and play ball and have a good time. That's cut out, and it's like, and that really cuts out the culture. I've had to bring it up a couple times. It's like, hey, look, you need to get everyone together and communicate and see where everyone's at. And it's the bottom line. It's getting back to redefining capitalism there.
Yeah, to a degree. I mean,
it's that whole.
I just realized by getting back within the whole "let's make America great again" concept. No, we don't want to go backwards. We want to move forward in a positive way. We want to take the lessons of the past and adjust them for the 21st century.
Well, what I'm saying is, in the 70s, the definition of capitalism was changed.
Yes, yes, it was.
Milton Friedman, I think it was.
I must say.
But it changed off of Adam Smith capitalism.
Right.
We want to get back to Adam Smith capitalism.
Which is a more equitable version.
Well, it's not equitable. It's you have more responsibilities than the bottom line. It's
okay. It's the pensions. It's the teamwork. It's
the taking care of community.
There's definitely pluses, but there's also minuses. On the other hand, you could be looking at company stores and company towns. You've got to be careful not to let. Don't at me. I'm just going to say that happened during that definition of capitalism, and that was not necessarily a good thing. We just need to learn that lesson and not do it again.
It is the difference between long-term thinking and short-term thinking.
Correct. And that's one of the things that has definitely shifted a lot in, the entire world.
And we need to get back to that long-term thinking. A good example I've been bagging on, and this is an individual thing. Individuals, make sure if you've got access to life insurance, get it.
Yeah.
I know of 2 people that have died within the last 2 weeks that were not set up for the final expenses.
And their family's kicking there, and their family is suffering because of it.
And that is short term. Hey, I could put a couple bucks in my pocket for a freaking frou-frou coffee, versus hey, my family is taken care of and can figure out the next step without panicking and throwing a GoFundMe out there.
Yeah.
So that is one way, and being flexible.
Yes.
Discipline is the way out. You're going to see some discipline and control from leaders, and them taking control. One of the biggest things we talked about was lowering your volume. Sound really bad. Okay.
Yeah.
Turn out sign. Okay. So thank you, Caps, for chiming in there. All right. So one of the things was I've lost my thought because I had to lower the volume. So
That's true. That thought has derailed.
Okay. So, focusing on long-term goals versus short-term.
Right.
Investing in technology and the people around you.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting ready to train a new person here pretty shortly.
Yes.
And we're looking forward to that. Because it's like, okay, here, welcome to the wonderful world of health insurance. This is something you've never done before.
But then we can see the same thing of us not that long ago.
Not that long ago, almost a decade for me.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's still not that long in the grand scheme of the thing. The fact that, going on, moving on.
But the biggest thing is that adaptability, and not being rigid.
Yes.
And there are some folks that are really rigid, and it's like, oh, this is how we've done things. This is how we've always done things. Mm-hmm. And you really got to take a look at the situation. You got to listen to your people around you and adapt.
That's where Nahu's slipping. Is that that's the way it's always been. That's the way it's going to continue to be. And you got that old shriveled up mentality in there. They're resisting forward momentum.
Well, the big thing, and this is with associations.
Uh-huh.
This is with your Rotarians, your Elks clubs. Mm-hmm. The folks that are able to participate the heaviest aren't necessarily your front lines.
No, they're the ones that have the most time, which are often them retired or close to it.
Yeah, or they've set up and time is an asshole. It really is. Yep. So it shouts when you don't need it. Mm-hmm. It's suddenly you look up and like, where's all my time gone? Mm-hmm. So yeah, time is often the biggest enemy. But yeah, those people in those leadership positions aren't listening, aren't inviting in the young, the ones that are actually in the situation. Mm-hmm. So there's a massive disconnect.
Well, yeah, and you run into that for years. You were a member of a service club, and you got all the way up to the president.
President.
He was president of the service club, and he wanted to bring in some new ideas, and they basically kicked his butt out.
Well, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was. I was presented with the opportunity, and that was the point where I had to take control. I had a person come to me and say, "Hey, you know what? They're going to come after your business and your family. Or you can stay in the club." So I did what any sane person does, says, okay, you know what? This is a club. It's not my family. Mm-mm. It's not my career path. I can go.
Mm-hmm. You did.
And that's what I did. So
it still makes me mad to this day.
That's okay. What goes around comes around.
Oh, it does. It does.
I've encountered those individuals. It's been 5 years now.
Oh, something like that. Yeah, I'd have to go back and look.
Some of my prophecies have come true. It's like, yeah, I'll make more money outside of this club than I ever would in. Mm-hmm.
Not like, yeah.
That was one example of, I've seen, countless members get turned around and, DUIs and poor behavior.
Yeah.
Because I don't model that.
Yes.
And that's the big thing is you'd be honest all the way through, and they weren't.
No, there was, and that was, I still, like I said, so good. But that's another example of how, and this service club is a very good example of that stagnancy. Yeah. And you got to think not just what's happening at this moment and what might be even happening next week, but think a little bit, think more long term. Think 10 years down the road. Think about your employees now, and and think about not just what can they do for you now, but if you retain them, if you keep them happy, how can they help you in 10 years?
It's like, oh my gosh, why aren't you training your employees? Mm-hmm. Why aren't you updating them with the latest technology?
No, they just throw people to the wolves and let them
have at it,
which causes frustration and anger and dissatisfaction.
I know.
And then they make a mistake because they weren't trained properly, and then they get yelled at, and it's a self-fulfilling disaster prophecy.
Yeah, it's a Thunderdome in the cubicles. You don't need that.
No, you really don't.
And if you're cultivating that environment, you know what?
You deserve to have people.
I've got a couple companies that I've worked for. If a former colleague says, "Hey, you know what? Would you recommend me?" It's like, absolutely. You're still working there? Absolutely. Here you go. I will write you a stellar review. Go forth and do good things.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
And that's that culture that carries you through. It carries you through in the home life. It carries you through in the work life. It carries you through in the gym. All those outside resources that you build should have those common, character themes. Mm-hmm. So you offer flexibility, invest in tech and process, cultivate firm thing, being proactive. This goes for home life. This goes for work life. Mm-hmm. We were proactive. We actually, it was 2018, 2019. We were looking at video, doing our video conferencing.
We were ready for COVID before COVID hit.
Yeah.
We didn't really mean to be, but it worked out that way.
And that is being proactive. You get things in order before you need them.
Yes, and that way things don't take you don't end up scrambling.
Mm-hmm. Simple little things. Have a will in place.
Yeah.
Have a plan for when the worst situation happens, that you can pull out a desk drawer and say, yeah, here's the will, here's the the life insurance policy, everything's set. It's stupid easy. And that way you've got a structure in play. I had one of the conversations I had earlier this week was the, preparing kids for a mass shooting versus, preparing them for maths. Mm-hmm. And I was like, our son hasn't had to deal with our son's, ready for both.
Yeah.
And that's what most people understand. It's like, yeah, I've literally gone into the woods and had adults swing sticks at his head.
It's true.
And that's just martial arts training. Yeah, he's actually at 15, sparred with grown men.
Yeah, and held his own well.
Yeah. But it was 4. We got him out and
his first camping trip.
Well,
no, he was camping at like 6 weeks.
10 weeks.
10 weeks was his first camping trip, but he was sleeping in the tent by himself at the age of 4, which freaked me out.
But you gotta let him do that.
I did.
And that's what most people don't understand is that growth in those challenges, those personal challenges to get to that next level. Mm-hmm. And they have really wonderful impacts elsewhere. Mm-hmm.
And within, the corporate world as well. So we got to be close to the time.
We are at time, so, What positive do you have for this week?
What do you mean, what positive? What has happened that's been positive this week? Or what has happened? What
wisdom do you want to impart? Because I know you've had a difficult morning.
I have had a tough morning. I have had a tough 24 hours, my email's been fighting me. So you want me to come up with a positive for the day.
Yeah.
I am upright. I am alive. As a personal positives, every day above ground is a good day. I don't know, all kinds of aphorisms.
Okay, my positive is have a life insurance policy in play and know who your experts are, because we're going Friday to go get our email fixed. There you go. Have a good weekend.
Yes.
We will be in Friday in Gold Bar with our
Super Guru,
because we use small business whenever we get a chance.
Yes. All right. Thanks very much. Enjoy the rest of your week.
All right. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.